Everybody, happy Sysadmin Day.
Yes.
If you've been, those of you who've been watching on the pre-show, just the bonus content where we do everything, get all the sound, make sure the sound's okay and the video's okay. We've just been regaling with stories of pranks.
Pranks and woe.
Getting even, honestly, sometimes you have to say it's good to be king.
Absolutely.
Good to be king.
Or in your case, queen.
Sysadmin, that's a job title because badass is not HR approved. So.
I guess now it's podcast approved.
I hope so. Might be talking about that afterwards.
So it's a PDQ&A, the Sysadmin Day version, Sysadmin Day Sysadmin, whatever. Yeah. It's PDQ&A. So go ahead and ask your questions.
Have a sip there, man. You're having a little trouble talking, bro.
Yeah, cheers.
All right, let's go.
This is Ardbeg Igado.
Yep.
All right. Good stuff. All right, let's go ahead. Throw down.
Dear Shane and Lex, will a manual scan of a computer in PDQ kick off deployments that are set to heartbeat? Sincerely, Joseph W.
No, a manual scan of a computer. Let me modify that. No, that itself is not a trigger for heartbeat. However, if a computer is marked as offline in inventory, and if you want to look over here, you can see this. The way I've got this set up, we've got this online showing this. So if there's a computer that is listed as offline, and like maybe the last time the heartbeat went off, it was offline. It just came up. So the next heartbeat, maybe in 5 minutes, we'll catch it. If you hit a scan on that computer and it changes, if you try to hit a scan and it thinks the computer's offline, but you have it set to still scan anyway, and that computer is online, then that will change the online status to online, from offline to online. That is actually the trigger. So in that case, yes, it would be kicked off, even though it wasn't found by a heartbeat. Really, the heartbeat is a short way of saying inventory has a computer that went from an offline status to an online
status. Yeah.
Yep. So anything can really trigger that. You could go in there manually into the database, set all your computers to show offline, and then move them onto online, and that would also act as a trigger.
One other caveat, guys, it can take up to 60 seconds after it goes from an offline to an online state to actually do something in PDQ.
Yeah, once it goes online, that trigger is sent to deploy, and deploy doesn't process that moment necessarily. It just it checks.
Delay.
You can count on it. Usually you'll see it within a minute. So good question. Thank you.
Dear Shane, Lex, and Chris in the chair, we have lots of host names in our Active Directory, host names that were used in the old days, but upon changing the host name of the PCs, forgotten to delete in our AD. Is there a way wherein we can determine the inactive host names in our AD through PDQ Inventory? Sincerely, Chris P.
All right. So we saw, and thank you, Chris. And I think that you're endeared to Chris because the name is spelled similar to Chris. He's actually going to check that out. Yes, it is.
Come on in, man. You're going to talk about this.
The answer is yes. There's a couple of ways. There's a couple of ways you can do this. I'm going to turn this over in a moment to Chris. A couple of ways you can do this in inventory, but the key word there is determine. Yeah. So you can look in inventory. There's a logon date that we maintain. That is the computer logon for the computer in Active Directory. So this doesn't work if the machine's not in Active Directory. Anyway, you can check, build a collection on computer dates, the last logon date that's older than whatever. I would mix that with it's offline, just in case that computer is still online after months. Two filters, offline and the login date is older than 120 days. But that's determined. We don't change anything in Active Directory.
Read only from us. Yeah.
Yeah, we will sync up with Active Directory, but if you delete a computer in inventory, it doesn't delete that object in AD. I'm going to turn over to Chris because I think what you might be asking is how can I just kind of manually clean this up? And Chris will talk to you real quick about PowerShell. I think you've got something in the bonus content.
Should yes.
What is this? The
magic hands.
Oh, magic. Okay.
So, being the good person I prepped by having this ISC window open, which I don't, we're going to center this on the fly because science.
Science. So basically, you can do this through PowerShell.
Correct.
And you can look for the same type of things, or are you looking for different Active Directory indicators?
It's basically the same data that we pull, and so I'm just going to copy this over to that machine just to show you real quickly. It's really, really easy.
Yeah, just make sure you mention which AD attribute you're using in that script.
Yep. So there's this guy, and we have it all zoomed in and nice here. So essentially, when you use the Active Directory commandlets, one of the gotchas with this one is the filters and the properties. By default, when you use the Active Directory commandlets in PowerShell, it doesn't get all the properties and attributes that are available, right? So you have to specify them. In this case, what we're doing here is I'm actually saying, grab me all the computers, filter, star. Here you can actually be really specific, and you can even use an LDAP query with an LDAP query parameter. But so we're going to say all machines, and then that use the attribute, we call it properties here, last logon. And then for our filter, we're going to move over here and basically say we want to know where the last logon is less than negative 30 days ago. So this looks weird, but what that means is, imagine time is constantly feeling like a glass. It's getting the more time progresses, the larger it becomes. So we want to know past, which is less than this, and we want to know, say, older than 30 days. So we go 30 days below that, and then everything less than that. So that's kind of how this works. Unfortunately, when you actually query Active Directory for the last logon time, it gives you in a format called file time format, which is like the number of 100 nanosecond bursts since January 1st, 1601. Riddle me this.
Only PowerShell had a way to cast the time in different formats.
Yeah, so it's this is a really neat way to do it. I'm actually using the .NET, which PowerShell's built on, to do that. So when you run this, you can actually get that. I don't know if we have the Active Directory module on here. That's why I'm not running this.
But yeah, so you do have to have the Active Directory module on here. The other thing is you may want to run this, check it out before you actually put the delete command in here.
Correct.
Because it would be a bad day.
Correct.
If
So
you nuked all the wrong stuff.
at this point, you could actually add, say, oh, here's my result, or we can call it my computers, and set it to a variable. And then the next command you would run you'd go through your computers and say, for each object, do some stuff. And the stuff we're going to do is, I believe it's disable AD account. Oh, yeah, right there.
Disable AD
And
account.
then for each one there. So this is what you would do to actually go through. It looks like it is installed on here, so if I ran that.
Run it.
Oh, no, maybe not. What have I done?
So now you know it's live, guys.
Yeah.
Anywho.
Probably typoed something here.
Well done.
Thanks, Chris. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Made us
Is
look
the
real.
bonus content correct?
It should be.
Did you at least test it?
Uh,
Or are you pranking everybody on Sysadmin Day?
no, it works. So, like for example, here, if we use this command here, we'll get all the machines in Active Directory. It's going to load that, do all the fun
Okay.
stuff. And then here, where object, date time, fun file time, last logon.
The space between
Oh, thank
dot
you.
ed days.
Thank
that's
you.
Why.
Good eye. That's where you are.
Shame of it.
Hopefully that. I don't think that's.
There it is. So then computers, these will be the computers that are that old. In fact, we can actually just select name and last logon. And you'll see the actual last logon date is in file time, which, yeah, good luck with that in your head. So,
You can still
You
format.
cast it. in
Correct.
front of it, yeah.
Easily.
and so like I was showing here with computers, we can say, oh, for each of these guys, do this cool stuff. And in this case, we're going to do that disable AD account. And we want to disable that guy in the pipeline. And we're going to say what if, because I don't actually want to do it, because these are actually in our environment. But if I ran this, it'll tell me what it's going to do. Oh, it's going to disable all those machines. Fantastic. Jordan 1, Jordan 2, you're out.
Well, as long as there's none of mine in there,
And in
feel
this
free
case,
to launch
you're
it, man.
Or anything on the webcast.
So,
Cool. Good point. Good
Inadvertently
point.
end it. Just prematurely.
So thank you very much on that, Chris. So yeah, and I want to call out in inventory. There we go. Go down to in preferences, if you're using the Active Directory synchronization, notice right there. And where is there? There's a little checkbox. By default, it's turned off. It says sync disabled computers. We have that turned off by default. If you have that off and you do what Chris just showed you, it would minus the what if, then it would disable those computers and they would be removed from inventory the next AD sync, as long as you have your delete mode set appropriately.
Yeah.
Basically, don't have it set to import only. But that's a great way. Thank you very much. And of course, you could also delete the object if you want. And thanks for showing that, Chris. Now, I want to call out one more thing. And if you notice, there's this little guy right here, Chris. If you don't mind, I'm going to mention that little pipeline. I believe the next webcast for I just had the pipe highlighted. The next webcast, you're going to be discussing pipelining, right?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, good. So if you're looking at that, going, what the hell am I looking at? Tune in on Tuesday because
Chris will be hitting the pipeline.
hit that crack pipe, man.
Okay, well,
We
I
do
just took
crack.
that to the wrong place, didn't I?
What, the truth? All right, let's go. What we got?
Dear Shane and Lex, how can I reference if a machine is part of a collection in a report in inventory? Sincerely, Da Larry G Show.
I loved Ollie G. Hey, Larry. All right, there's a couple of ways you can do this. And you don't have to just use SQL, but with SQL you have so much power. But we can just quickly show you, I guess. We can go to report, do a new report. Now, when you're running a report, you actually have what's known as the collection source. So I'm just going to say, like member of collection or something like that. But if we just keep our computer name, the default column, only show one column, you can come up here to the select collection source, and this will only run inventory against that particular collection.
So basically, your machines have already been filtered at the collection level at this point.
Yeah.
So.
This is a way so that you don't have to create, you modify filters for one report and copy that report many times just because you want to run it against this collection or that collection. It's populated at runtime. So if I want to come over here to, let's look at runtimes, Adobe Air. Just select this one, which only computers in this collection have Adobe Air, and run it. Even though I have no filters specified in this report, these are all the computers that are in the Adobe Air collection. Ergo, they have Adobe Air. That's all done from the select collection source.
Now, the other thing I just want to point out, when you're running reports and you want to look at all your computers, make sure you check your
Yes, this is a big one. Like
your collection source.
Some people will build the most beautiful report with the most exquisite filtering, and then they're like, I'm only seeing 3 computers. What's going on? And if you notice, we have what we call a tell. When you run the collection, you can see. Thanks, Lex. You can see what collection is selected in the collection source. You can always just change the collection source to all computers, and then that will show that. That's one way you can do it using the collection source. Define report. Another way you can do it is to go over here into filters, and under the computer table, there is a collection column, and then it's just Boolean. Is a member, is not a member, right? So we could say is member. You can type in if you want, but I would recommend hitting what I've done. We've hit the ellipsis here, and this will allow you to
select it.
So we can just go back right to Air, select Adobe Air, say OK.
Heaven forbid you type like me, because you'll never get what you want.
So now we're running this against all computers. However, we have a filter that just says against Air, run it, and those are the 34 computers. The 34 computers in Air. There's a lot of ways. There's a couple additional ways you can do this. In the filtering for collections under the computer table is that, but there's also, you can also go into columns. If you wanted to find out what members of all collection, anybody in this collection of Air, what other collections are they in, you can also come over here, create a new column, and just say member of collection, and then these are the collection names, you have the collection description, etc., and you can run it. There's a lot of ways you can kind of get into this. It just kind of depends on what you want.
Yep. A lot of ways to skin that cat.
I hope we interpreted your question correctly, Larry. All right.
Dear Shane and Lex, in PDQ Inventory, is there a way to inventory both domain and non-domain devices? Do we need to create a dynamic collection? Sincerely, Rovi C.
Oh, absolutely. There are ways to grab non-domain devices. In fact, it, in a way, kind of made your job and our product a little bit more complex, and we miss out on a few things. For example, the answer is yes. Now, if we had a requirement that you had to be a member of AD, be nice. That one nice thing about that is the primary key in our records would be the domain GUID.
Yeah.
And then you could change the name. All the things that you could do, it would just always look at that GUID, and that would be the primary. Here we use the host name. We do that because
not everybody uses Active Directory.
Correct.
So.
Or they have a mix and a match. So what you're going to want to do, Rovi, go to options, and this happens in both deploy and inventory.
Credentials.
Yep, go to Options, Credentials. And you can note that we have a handful of credentials here. Notice one we've got is Vincent. We'll just, you know what, I'm just going to remove those credentials and just create it. What you want to do is add credentials. And Lex, what do we put if we're going to specify a local account? What do we put in that domain field?
You can leave blank.
That's correct.
And go straight
Blank.
for the
You can also
local
use
admin path.
You can also use just a dot, one period, and that just means local host. But domain, keep it blank. What is, you might be administrator. What is an account that has administrative rights on all of your computers?
Local admin
The
rights,
local admin
yes.
rights. So it's a local account. Ours is Vincent. Obviously, there's a password.
Is password 1.
Huh.
All
And now,
lowercase.
I want to mention this really quick. If you have, let's say that you've got administrator here instead of Vincent. Well, let's say administrator. But different organizations,
Different work groups, yeah.
different work groups have a different password for administrator. That you're going to have to create multiple instances of this. So let's say that this is broken down by a hotel. You'd say, you know, this is a hotel in Denver. The Denver folks, their administrator password is this. And you'd say, okay. And by that, you can see the Hotel Denver, but then you'd add new credentials once again. And this is how you can have the same username, which can be an issue, not an Active Directory, because you can't have multiple usernames in Active Directory, but you can on the local, where they all have different passwords.
Yep.
So anyway, so then this would be the password for, you know, a hotel.
In Salt Lake,
Nope, I'll do St. Paul.
St. Paul.
All right. So here, when you do what I'd recommend, that you go to those computers. When you add a computer, you can just go to Computer, Add. If you don't have, like here, just if you want to do a name, type in the names of these computers and change your scan user here to, you know, Hotel St. Paul or whatever. Add those computers. If you already have them in inventory, you can just you can grab these computers in blocks. Let's say these represent the Denver ones.
Select your scan user.
Select scan user. I've right-clicked there. Drop down. Select those, and you should be good to go. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, and the great thing about this, guys, if you are using deploy, and you've got to deploy to many different credentials, you can set deploy to use the credentials that are set up in inventory, so you can do one deployment for everybody.
All right.
So it's awesome.
Yes, thank you. That's by using the scan user. We talked about that in the last webcast.
Yes.
All right. Next question.
Dear Shane and Lex, is there a way to update computer and AD descriptions from a text file or CSV? Thanks in advance, AJT.
Okay, so no, you'd have to
Okay.
script that out, really.
If you had a description, a custom description field, you could probably put that in using a CSV.
He's saying, is there a way? So you've got, let's say you want to update all the computer records here. What he's talking about, let's open up Chase here.
Okay.
Open it up. In the computer window, notice there's a description, general, and then
Yeah,
there's
all right.
a description under Active Directory. So during an inventory scan, we will look to see what that is. Now, if you just try to update that in the database, the next scan is going to replace that with whatever's on the computer. So you're talking about changing that on the computer or in Active Directory, and you're going to want to script that, do some way of changing that both on the computer and in Active Directory.
Chris is just over there going,
Yeah, you'd want to do that. It's not a native feature for us. What we do is we grab what is listed in the registry there or in the Active Directory attribute for description. So.
Go, Chris, go.
Yes, I have stuff.
You want to say something, buddy?
Yeah, so if you want to do this via PowerShell, which you know you want to, the commandlets you're looking for are set 80 user and set 80 machine, I think. I actually don't remember off the top of my head. Anyway, both those actually have a description parameter you can use to set that. So if you use the import CSV or the get content commandlets in PowerShell to import that CSV, you can then use those values.
Yeah, you could pipe that,
Great.
or you could do a for each if you're going to read through that. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Thanks. And obviously there's going to be a computer description as well that would not be part of the Active Directory, depending on the description that you want to change.
True.
Yes, Chris. If there's requests or people want that broken down, then Chris can provide that in bonus content later or something, or Colby or something.
Maybe a mini blog or something.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds good. Good question, buddy.
Dear Shane and Lex, is it possible to point one auto report to multiple collections? Currently, I have to create single ones and point it to auto report. Thanks, and happy Sysadmin Day Eve. Faizan N.
Hey, Faizan. So an auto report, just like a schedule in deploy, can have multiple packages attached to it. An auto report can have multiple reports. But yeah, you're still going to have those reports. I mean, I hope I'm understanding your question. Do you see that question, Chris? Do you want to add to that, buddy?
It's like you can add all
Chris
those
can't
reports
read.
into one auto report to run at the same time, but if you're pointing a report, it needs to be pointed at different collections to get the right information.
I hope
Depending,
we're understanding your question.
Yeah.
Let's Faizan, if you might want to elaborate, maybe give us send us an example of what you're talking about, because I don't want to go off and start answering questions that I think you're asking only to
Send you in the
waste
wrong
time. Yeah, so
direction, yeah.
reach out to us if you don't mind. Give us to our support. Give some examples, and we'll show you the best way we think of to do that in auto reporting. And thank you for using auto reports. Hey,
Yes.
somebody knows about that feature.
High five.
Rock on.
Dear Shane and Lex, is there a way to create a package and deploy that will dynamically update similar to the auto deployment packages? Do you manually create each package for the auto deployments, or are each deployments created automatically through some other means? And can I do something similar? Sincerely, Logan the Wolverine H.
Okay, well, similar to auto deployment, no. What you're going to have to do, there's a couple of ways you can do this. So you're talking about a package. Let's go over here to deploy. Understand this, you're talking about a package that's not available
In the package library.
in the package library, right? So let's just mitigate. I don't think that's in there. So let's look at this package here that you've created, and then a new version comes out. There's a couple of things that you can do. Number one, if you want to keep this same package, you could just come over here to the install step, or whatever step is in there that points to that file, and point it to
the new
the
installs.
new version. And then that package will deploy that. One thing that could be a gotcha on that would be in schedules. So what you want, if you do have this pushed out via schedules, even though you're using the same package, that now points to the updated update file, and this is outside of auto deployments.
Yeah.
You're going to want to go to your schedule and clear out the computer
History.
history. Clear out the computer history, because the computer history is mapped per schedule per package. Another way to do it is just literally, there's a couple ways. You could duplicate that package. So here's a new one, update that, and then attach this new package to your schedule and detach the old one, and then you don't have to worry about the computer history, because that will already be cleared out. So there's a number of ways to do it, but with auto deployments, we know the install files. We can kind of control that, so it's easy for us. At this point, we're going to change this, but you mentioned something, Logan. If you create an auto deployment package and you don't import that, you don't see what the auto deployment here under packages. You see that auto deployment here in auto deployment packages. That's because, when we designed this, we just didn't want to confuse people. So we actually have that package, but it's known as an auto deployment. It's not something that you can just modify.
Yeah, not available for you to modify at that point. Yeah.
So it's very common to have like a Java 8 auto deployment package, but then also import Java 8 so that you have that package down here and you can deploy that via outside of auto deployment. We have another question?
Dear Shane and Lex, give me the magic bullet so I don't have to update applications in MDT and can just add PDQ in the task sequence somehow. Thanks for just being you, Daniel A.
So back to imaging.
Yeah.
So imaging and then kicking off PDQ deploy after the image. Chris and I did a webcast about fog, and it's basically if you can do command line or PowerShell commands from the command line calling PDQ deploy, you're already there, man.
Yep.
And my suggestion is watch that. It's a fog webcast, fog and PDQ deploy, and the commands are the same. It doesn't matter if you're using fog or MDT. And my suggestion is set up auto deployment and call your schedules, because those will grab the most recent versions. Save yourself a bunch of time.
Here you can see I went to the PDQ deploy directory and just ran PDQ deploy, the exe, and you'll see some available commands that are right there where you can So from your task sequence, you could call. You'd have to have the appropriate rights, obviously, but you could do like the name just, I was almost said NT internals, the sys internals. Boy, I'm dated. You could use like sys internals to make a call out to run that remote session, and then just pass this command. So the magic bullet is PDQ deploy.exe.
That's the enterprise feature. Command line?
No, it's pro or enterprise.
That's pro or enterprise? Okay. Well, I lost that battle. I thought it should be enterprise.
Huh.
Dear Shane and Lex, are there any new features that are in the works? Sincerely, Jeremy C.
No, not at all.
We're done.
Yeah.
We're never going to do anything again.
PDQ is actually in legacy mode. Yes.
Always.
There's quite a few. We're making some pretty big enhancements to the central server feature. And then forthcoming, we're also planning, working on an agent.
Optional?
Yeah, the optional agent. Optional. Thank you very much. It's definitely going to be optional. So many people don't want an agent, but a lot of people do. And just because we have an agent doesn't mean that features that you might expect will be available. Once we have the agent, then we can start adding features to that agent. Yeah. So, yes, we've always got a lot of
ton of stuff in the works. Yeah,
our roadmap is we have it loosely defined for a long time. So.
Yeah,
a long time out.
Dear Shane and Lex, can you walk us through a typical deploy of a software package, then a typical update of said package to a newer package? Sincerely, and love your name, Shane B.
Rock on, Shane. Do we want to? I kind of mentioned that for Logan's question, right? We can just pretend that we created this package. I'm sorry. Pop that question back up. You wanted us to build typical deploy of a package. Okay.
Update.
So. How can I do this? Let's go. You know what? Let's just go over here. There's a new version of Java that just came out, and it was released a week after the other Java. So let's come out and grab a couple of Javas here. So I'm going to go to Java 8, and I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to grab the one that was released last week, which is 141. So notice I'm grabbing an older version.
The shame of it.
Right.
But it's nice that you can grab it. So.
All right, so you're deploying this one. We'll just do that to one computer. So you deploy it, it's out there, and then there's a new version of Java. So just to save time, I'm going to grab that from the package library. I'm going to grab the latest version, which is 144. And once again, remove the package library from this equation.
Say you've already built this, so basically after this is downloaded, Shane's going to point at the new install package.
Effectively, yes. Yeah. So I'll just delete 144. And then we've got the 141 right there. So now you want to modify this. Once again, there's a couple of ways you can do it. If you want, you can duplicate this. And then once you duplicate it, just go make those changes, or you can just change the package itself, and just say, okay, I'm going to call this one, instead of 141, we're going to call it 144. Yada yada. I'm not going to change all the descriptions and stuff. And then come over here to our install file. You've downloaded that new offline install from Java, from Oracle. So we'll just go over here and point to the new one. And you should, generally you should be okay at that point. It's just if you. Now I want to deploy this out to that same computer, you can do it. If you have schedules, if this was scheduled, then you just have to go into that schedule.
Clear that history. The
computer history and clear that. That's if you use the same package and just change the install file. A lot of people just end up duplicating it and then deleting the old one or placing the old package in a...
I like to duplicate and delete. It takes care of everything for you in the back
schedules.
So that's one thing you can do there. There's a couple of ways around that.
And our final question today, which trigger do I use to schedule an install at night from Monday to Friday and from 11 p.m. to 8 a.m.? Is it interval? Sincerely, Kevin K.
Let me read that again. Don't hide that. Hi, Kevin. Schedule an install Monday to Friday from 11 to 8.
From 11 to 8?
I don't know. Let's see if we can figure this out.
Let's do it. New schedule.
All right. So we'll call this Adobe.
Adobe, Monday through Friday, 11 to 8.
So if you're going to do,
I,
I'm just thinking out loud, we can do Monday through Friday. So let's say weekdays.
there you go.
All right. And then,
Ending point at 8
so
a.m.
yeah, so what was, we'll say it was 11 p.m.?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll kick it off at 11. All right. And yeah, if you have this set and so you're not using a heartbeat trigger, so it happens when it comes online, and you're not using the retry queue, this will kick off every day at 11.
Mm-hmm.
Now, depending on how many clients you have, let's say you have 100 clients that go out, and the default setting is 8 deployments per, or 8 computers per deployment. You could easily get this done. If you're talking about pushing this out to 30,000 computers, that could go past that 8 a.m. So in that case, if you don't have enough, if you have too many computers, you might need to break this up into multiple schedules, or increase your number of deployments and performance. So this should take care of it. No, it's not an interval. An interval is just where you don't want to say like every weekday necessarily. You just want to say, you know what, every
40 minutes.
or every 3 hours and 1 minute, kick this off.
Yeah.
Right. If you use the ending, that just says, and after this date, no longer run
use
this
the schedule.
schedule.
Yeah.
Kind of a way to, it's kind of a way to just say to expire the schedule. So hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, I had to think through that one, didn't we?
Yeah. So, hey, happy Sysadmin's Eve.
Thanks
guys. UFC tomorrow.
Thanks for
Bring it
all
on.
that you do.
Hardcore sysadmining tomorrow.
Cheers.
See ya.
Thanks for joining our webcast today. Congratulations, Larry G. and Daniel A., winners of PDQ Swag, and Serge H., winner of our PDQ Floppy Coaster. Send us your info at webcast@pdq.com. And don't forget to check out our bonus content today. A lot of great sysadmin goodies in there for you. Have a fantastic sysadmin day tomorrow, and we'll see you back here next week.